10 or so kilometers here that there are over 5 to 10 places that are holding majalis of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. My friends tell me that when they came about 20, 30 years ago, there was no majlis for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. There was no majlis for Ashura, there was no majlis for Muharram. Now to some of us that might not be a big deal, but to others, the majlis of Imam Hussein is a very close thing to their heart. It's something that they have been born with, it's something that they've been used to. They've come from countries such as Lebanon, Iraq, Afghanistan, and they've come to this gharib country and they don't feel at home. But when they come to such majalis, they feel at home. And alhamdulillah for the organizers of this beautiful place. What a beautiful name it's got, Madif al-Amir. The guests of Imam Ali, of our Amir, of our King. So inshallah, everyone here is the guest of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, and we have come together to remember his son, none other than Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. And tonight we also remember another one of Imam Ali's grandsons, who I will introduce soon, who bears the same name as Ali alayhi salam. So I really want everyone, inshallah, to, over the next couple of nights, I understand that this is the first year that this place has held Muharram gatherings, and it is so wonderful to see all the hard work the volunteers are doing. There's live streaming, there's video recording, they've invited a beautiful voice from Lebanon, Hussein Ja'far, they've invited Sheikh Ali Zahidi for no one, just for you people. Usually in my line of work as a psychologist, when I go and I have to learn about psychological courses, it's called continuing professional development. Every course I go for just 1 hour or 2 hours, I have to pay $200-300. Whereas this, you know, they have done it because you're the guests of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. So feel honored that you are here. And also everyone, with your loudest of salawat, send your salawat, and inshallah the rewards go to yourself and to the people behind the scenes who are working so hard in here, this majlis, in majlis all around the Sydney, and majlis all around the world. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. A few, 2 or so years ago, and I've been in this place in Australia about 3 times for programs in Perth. And we find that Perth as well, there's so many Muslims and there's so many people, followers of Ahlul Bayt, yet they don't have the gatherings that we're blessed with here in Sydney. They don't even have a masjid there. One. Look how many we have. We have Masjid al-Zahra, Masjid Rasul Adam, Masjid Imam Mahdi in Campbelltown, Masjid al-Rahman nearby in Kingsgrove. We have so many Hussainiyat in Sefton, in Bankstown, in Bexley. We have so many. So brothers and sisters, when these 12 nights finish, try and find it in you to come at least that once a week, to rejuvenate yourself, to acquaint yourself with your religion, because we as Muslims here in this country, we are somewhat looked down on. We are somewhat made fun of in media, or we're told that we are all types of names. But inshallah, with that bit of knowledge, you will proudly say you're Muslim. You will proudly say, if they call you names, you just laugh because it's stupid for you, because you realize the richness of your religion. So you don't have to be embarrassed about calling yourself Muslim. You don't have to be embarrassed calling yourself Muhammad and Ali and Hussein. You don't have to be embarrassed calling yourself Fatima and call yourself instead Fatma. Or Muhammad, you call yourself Moe, don't worry. Or whatever the case may be. Because we have a rich heritage, we have a rich identity. So one of the ways amongst many is to acquaint yourself regularly, go to programs. If you have a busy lifestyle, busy schedule, it's only 1 hour in the week. And there's programs, as I said, all around Sydney. So inshallah, may Allah bless everyone to continually allow us and inspire us and give us the grace to be able to learn perpetually throughout the year, once a week, once a month, whatever the case may be, depending on your own abilities. As I said, around my areas, the closest mosque or center to me is 35-40 minutes without traffic. At this time it's over an hour, 1.5 hours. But yet, alhamdulillah, whether it's for social purposes, just to see some friends, just to learn a thing or two, whatever the case may be, I try and go at least once a week. So inshallah, everyone here is also blessed to do that. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So over the next few nights, I do apologize for the late start. Over the next few nights, inshallah, there will be some very important topics discussed, such as mental illness. Mental illness that we see that it's become so prevalent. Things like depression, anxiety. It's become so prevalent. So many people these days have it. So we'll touch on that. We'll touch on some other important and interesting subjects. And inshallah, if you're able to make it, ahlan wa sahlan. If you're not, inshallah, try and tune in online. If not, try and go to the other majalis all around Sydney, inshallah. And then Monday, which will be the last night, please come with all the questions that you have in your mind over the last few nights, or whatever the case may be. We'll dedicate it for the Q&A. And also tonight, if there's any questions or anything, please feel free. Because tonight I've dedicated a very short presentation on just who we are, who the Ahlul Bayt is. And then hopefully in the next few nights I'll also introduce, we talked about what is Islam. I'll elaborate on that, and also I'll elaborate on what is Shi'ism, what is this creed of Ahlul Bayt, what is this sect as they call it, and why are we that? When not only are we sometimes find ourselves in a difficult position for being Muslims, but also sometimes for being followers of Ahlul Bayt. And then when we learn and acquaint ourselves with that as well, you will proudly call yourself a follower of Ahlul Bayt. As we will see, Imam Hussein, he proudly called his children, all his boys, Ali, Ali, Ali. So inshallah we develop that mahabba and mawadda for our Ahlul Bayt, inshallah, who is the true reflection of Islam, the Quran. They are the walking Qurans, they're the manifestation of the Quran. So just some few terminologies and concepts, and then tonight I'll talk about the great companion and the great person in history called Ali al-Akbar, the son of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So just some brief terminology. Who knows what month we are in the Islamic calendar? Muharram, beautiful. Who can name the months in the Gregorian calendar? January, February, March. Who can name it? Everyone together. January, February, March. Beautiful. So you know it. Now we'll do the same exercise, but the Islamic calendar. Let's see how many people can do that. I'll start off with the first three, and then let's see. Muharram, Safar, Rabiul Awwal. And then we go. Which is fine. We don't need to know it, but it's good to know it. Muharram, Safar, Rabiul Awwal, Rabiul Thani, Jamad al-Awwal, Jamad al-Thani, Rajab, Sha'ban, Ramadan, Shawwal, Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah. So Muharram is the month that we're in, and it's amongst the 4 holy months in Islam that it is known that as a culture back in Arabia, it was not allowed to fight during those times. It was a respectable month, a month where Haram comes from the word holy. That's why we say Masjid al-Haram. it's got hurma. And so we find that despite it being usually, even in the culture and in the Quran, it says no fighting, we find that the greatest battle in Islam took place in Muharram. And we should ask ourselves, why did that happen? What happened that people forgot so quickly who the family of the Prophet was? When they introduced in the Quran, and as I recited and as I said, we'll talk about some terminologies and just briefly introduce who the Ahlul Bayt is. In the Quran, we have so many references to the Ahlul Bayt, such as Atiullah wa Atir Rasul wa ulil amri minkum, as I recited in the beginning. Obey Allah, obey the Prophet, and those among you with authority. And we find in the Quran this hadith, there's verses, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. That indeed we have purified you and cleansed you with a thorough purification, O household of the Prophet. So Ahlul Bayt is mentioned in the Quran, yet we find not only they killed Ahlul Bayt, but they killed them in a month that they're not allowed to. So how low were these people? Or rather, instead of saying how low these people were, how far away did they get from Islam that Prophet Muhammad introduced? The Islam of mercy, the Islam of kindness, the Islam that people would flock towards him because of this beauty. When we see famous personalities, whoever they may be, these days, unfortunately, no one flocks to personalities like a personality such as Justin Bieber or someone like that. But back then, they understood the value of the Prophet. They flocked towards it. They embraced this religion. But we find this beautiful religion that they brought, and this beautiful deen, and this beautiful loving, kindness, sharing, generosity, that the companions, when they were hungry and they had no food, they would have one date. They would pass it along and say, please, you have a bite. The others like, no, I can't, you have a bite. And this is when they're really hungry. So this beautiful religion was distorted so much in a span of just 50 years old, 50 years, that we find that the grandson of Rasulullah, the one that Prophet Muhammad himself said, Hussein is the Safinatul Najat. He is the ark of salvation. He is like the ark, the boat of Noah. Some of you might know the story of Noah. Noah was a prophet, that he was a prophet before Prophet Muhammad, before Moses, before Jesus, before Abraham, Noah. And we find in hadith that he preached for 950 years. That's a long time to be preaching. And at the end, he only had a small number of followers. And we find that his own family wouldn't follow him, and they themselves drowned in the big sea, in the big floods that occurred. And so an ark, a boat, was created and made and built by Noah, that only those who went on it survived. And so the Prophet said, Hussein, you are like that boat of salvation. Whoever holds on to you, latches onto you, will be saved, and whoever doesn't will be perished. So who exactly are the Ahlul Bayt in terms of names? And some people, it might be very basic knowledge to some, but others, it might not be. I found that just a few months ago, I was talking to someone, and she had been to the Majlis of Abu Abdullah for about 5-10 years every year during Ashura. But she asked me, who was Zainab? Was that the wife of Imam Hussein? A very sincere and honest question. But it just goes to show, sometimes we don't even know the basics. So let's just quickly pinpoint who were the Ahlul Bayt. Because in the Quran, as I said, the Prophet said, we have purified you with a thorough purification. the people, the family of the Prophet. Now, anyone's family, if I say to you, your family, you would say, my family is my children, my wife, my uncle, my aunties. But it was different. For Prophet, the family, Ahlul Bayt, consisted of a very select people who were these people recipient to Allah's purification. That we find that in Hadith al-Kisa, who knows Hadith al-Kisa or has heard of it? We find that the Prophet pinpointed and said, who is the Ahlul Bayt? Who was the person who narrates Hadith al-Kisa? It's Salama, one of the wives of the Prophet. So Hadith al-Kisa is an incident where the Prophet invited, where the Ahlul Bayt, the select Ahlul Bayt came and said to the Prophet, I smell a beautiful fragrance, can I come to you? And the Prophet came and allowed them to come. Who did he allow to come? He allowed Fatima, his daughter, Ali, his son-in-law, Hassan and Hussein. And then they came under a blanket, a sheet, and then that's when the ayah was apparently revealed that indeed we have purified you with a thorough purification. And then when he was asked, what, aren't your wives part of the Ahlul Bayt? The Prophet said, these are my Ahlul Bayt. This is the exact Ahlul Bayt. And also there's some narrations that Ahlul Bayt also includes people like Ja'far al-Tayyar. So we find that it was Salama herself that she wasn't allowed to come in that cloak, even though she was a wife, a part of the household. So Ahlul Bayt consists of the main people that we know of, the 12 Imams, the 14 Ma'asumeen. Who's the first of the Ma'asumeen? Rasulullah. The first Imam, yes, is Imam Ali. Rasulullah is considered to be the first of the Ma'asumeen. We have many Ma'asumeen according to the Quran. We say that the prophets are Ma'asumeen, the Anbiya, the prophets, the messengers. But at the time of the Holy Prophet, the Ma'asumeen are considered Prophet Muhammad, his daughter Fatima Zahra. So Fatima is the daughter of of Prophet Muhammad. And she's known to be the Sayyidat Nisa al-Alameen, which is the same title that is given to the great lady Maryam alayhi salam. Maryam alayhi salam, the mother of Jesus, who's referred to as Sayyidat Nisa al-Alameen. But in the hadith, it adds on that Fatima Zahra is Sayyidat Nisa al-Alameen min al-awwaleen wal-akhirin, from amongst the beginning of mankind and generations and right until the end. So it's the Prophet, Fatima. Fatima's husband is Imam Ali, who is also the Prophet's cousin. And their son, their eldest being Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, and there was more children that was born from Imam Ali and Fatima Zahra. Anyone know another name? No, we'll get to that. It's Kulthum and Muhsin, or known as Muhassan as well in narrations, who was the baby that Lady Fatima Zahra, when she was pregnant, due to certain things, she had a miscarriage and the baby died, Muhsin. So the Battle of Karbala consisted of the family of Imam Hussein and his very close companions. So Imam Hussein and Lady Zainab are brothers and sisters. Imam Hussein and Hazrat Abu Fadl al-Abbas are brothers. They're half brothers. They both have Imam Ali as dad, but different mothers. The mother of Imam Hussein is Fatima Zahra. The mother of Hazrat Abbas is al-Baneen. So we had Imam Hussein, the leader, the commander, Abbas alayhi salam, who's the half brother, and we had Lady Zainab who was present, who was the heroine of Karbala, al-Masa'ib as she's known. Then the children of Imam Hussein were there. Who's the eldest? Ali al-Akbar. Ali al-Akbar was the oldest son of Imam Hussein. Then there was 3 Alis. The Prophet had a few daughters. The Imam Hussein had a few daughters and 3 sons, as far as we know, and they were all called Ali. Ali Akbar, Ali Zain al-Abidin, when we say Imam Zain al-Abidin, our 4th Imam, or Imam Sajjad, and also Ali al-Asghar, or Abdullah al-Radi. So this was the family of the Prophet that was in Karbala. And then you have, the daughters of Imam Hussein, such as Sakina. So we find that why did Imam Hussein call all his boys Ali? Because at that time, unfortunately, even though the Imam Ali was well established